The Bluetooth module in the 2000 Nissan Maxima is in the trunk near the driver's rear speaker. It's a 32 pin. You push down on a clip on the top, pull it out. There's your 32 pin. Connect your Bluetooth adapter. It only goes in one way. Line up the grooves. I got a 2011 Nissan Maxima SV with the monochrome Bose system. Gonna change it out, try to keep the steering wheel controls. Start by disconnecting the battery off the negative side for no short circuits. Start by removing the top console so you can get to the screws that are above and below holding the stereo in. Get yourself a pair of plastic tools from Amazon or Crutchfield. I'm going to start in the lower corner with one of these, the smaller curved shaped ones. So you just kind of work your way slowly around the bezel until it finally starts to snap off. To get to these, should be 4 screws at the top, and then there's some at the bottom. So I'm going to lift this off. You have 4 screws connecting, 1 in the front, 2 in the back. So underneath the Bose system, once you've removed the trim plate, you got the 2 screws underneath there. So once you get the 4 screws out, you kind of have to tug on it a little to come out. And this is the Nissan with all these connections connected to this here. And it's probably good to take pictures to see everything the way it goes back, just in case you do need to reinstall your stereo. So when you get all the harnesses disconnected, there's your open spot for your stereo. And then next we'll be trying to find the steering wheel controls off connector A. It's a 20 pin connector. I think there's 3 wires that need to be spliced in. So I've had a Crutchfield install a line in so I can use my Bose factory amp in the harness that plugs right into the 20 pin, and I want to use the stereo controls, so I will need to splice into at least 3 of those wires and create a ground, probably attach it to that metal ground right there. And the antenna hooks right in, so I guess I won't be using these 3. So I've drilled me a couple grounds in the back. I got my wire harness hooked into the speakers and power. I got the antenna hookup antenna. I got the grounds just for temporary. And then I'm about to test this into the stereo to see how it sounds. And then we'll work on getting the car adapter steering wheel controls spliced in here. Oh, I guess it's not going to play since I got it hooked up, but I guess put it on the radio.
Free Rock Block, I'm Lynn Hernandez. 3 Days Grace is on the way. Also, Pearl Jam for Sean, who sent me an email. Lynn, Ember plus a gift certificate to Ted's Cafe Escondido, better Mexican, made from scratch since 19.
So after testing the radio, everything seems to be working on the radio and sounds fine. We'll do some adjustments to the line in, and the switch for this, for the Bose system on this 2011 Nissan, has to be on line out for you to get sound going to the speakers. Now I'm trying to isolate, looks like 3 wires to wire in the Maestro. It's already been flashed using their website to flash the module with the software. Now I'm just trying to isolate the gray-blue wire, a green wire, and a blue-black wire corresponding to this harness, the 20 pin that comes and there's the code right there. But the only thing that's is trying to figure out how I'm going to splice these in, what type of connector I'm going to use to splice in. But I've isolated the wires here for 16, 15, and number 6 on the front here is a gray or green and white wire. So next will be developing the guts to splice in to get the factory steering wheel controls going, and then the Bluetooth module that will go in the trunk. Now it's time to splice in the Maestro into the Nissan factory harness. I've isolated the 3 pins. I had to call customer service for Maestro to show that the green on my A6 is actually a green and white on the connector for position 6. So anyway, I'll be splicing into 3 with this harness here, and this is going to try to give us steering wheel controls to the Maestro. So now it's splice time. So got the stereo hooked up. I'm gonna try to test out the Maestro SW. Got my splices in with some cheap Walmart connectors to splice in, because my I didn't want to solder them, so I went with the cheap Walmart splice connectors. We'll see how that works. So anyhow, this will plug in the back of the Sony with the 3.5. This wire is not used. I think it's for Pioneer or other Kenwood Alpine types. So plug in the stereo, turn on the car, and see how it goes. I've already flashed this from the website, from iDataLink/Maestro, and we're gonna see. Oh, before you do use the controls, this has to be installed into the Bluetooth adapter that's located in the trunk. I'm gonna go do that now, but it's allegedly plug and play to it allows you to use the steering wheel controls, but this has to be hooked up to the Bluetooth module that's in the trunk on the 2011 Nissan Maxima. So I use my thumb to reach the top part of that, and it only connects in one way to the Bluetooth adapter in this Nissan. And it says to just basically leave it unplugged, and so there we go. So this Sony has a remote connection. This blue little hole right here in the back of the Sony AX100, that's where the 3.5 will go from the Maestro. It's also connected to the blue portion of the Maestro. And then the 7-pin will connect here, which we spliced into our factory wiring with cheap Walmart splicers.
You rock. 97.5 KMOD.
And the last thing to remember is to connect this box so you can have your HVAC work. It needs to be plugged in, that connector, and you'll tuck it underneath. And so, and you won't have your clock display, or your radio won't display the title of the tracks, but it's worth it when you get some new receiver. So remember to put that box back in and plug it in. So the heat and air bracket is underneath the CD player of the Bose system. You'll need to remove these screws from the sides and remove it off of this bracket. And this is what you'll keep and connect to that long pin that you removed from. This was underneath the Bose stereo, and it'll connect to that big old blade adapter there, and it'll control your heat and air unit.